What is up, mortals? Welcome to Season 1 Part 3 of What If Deku Had a Super Speed Quirk. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into the story. The second day at UA wasn't as eventful as the first day. Class 1 had regular classes. Once the regular classes ended, Mona was waiting for All Might to arrive. Katsuki put his feet on the desk out of boredom and to annoy Ada. Bakugo, that is disrespectful. Put your feet down, Ada said as he waved his arm up and down like a robot. All Might is coming in to teach us how to be proper heroes. We should show him the proper respect. Relax, Four Eyes. All Might isn't here yet, Katsuki grumbled. He's probably going to come in with a flashing entrance. Lighten up, Ada. This class is likely to be as stressful as yesterday was. All Might is a pretty harsh T-share, Izuku muttered as he flipped through his notebook. Why not relax until he gets here? Kaken, would it kill you to be polite to the people around you? Deku, why should I be nice to this extra? He's just annoying, Katsuki said. Why are you going through your notebook, shitty nerd? I don't know how you deal with him, Midoriya, Ida said, shaking his head in anger at Katsuki. That attitude of yours will cause you problems in the future, Bakugo. I was just looking over some of the notes I took on what we did when All Might trained us, Izuku stuttered. All Might tend to put us through simulations when he trained us. It might be a simulation given how many times he put us through one. What was it like training with All Might? It's the first time I heard about All Might training students during the pre-UA training, Ida asked, genuinely curious. It's hell, Four Eyes. You try running an obstacle course that changes while you're running it. One time All Might had us restart an exercise because he was able to hit us with a tire, Katsuki grumbled in annoyance. It was less of him training us and more of him forcing us to deal with random obstacles. Don't forget how he constantly made us wear weights, Izuku added while covering his face with his arms from embarrassment. I'm sure he had a reason for the harsh training he gave you, Ida said with a shocked expression. I am coming through the door like a normal person. All Might with his trademark smile as he opened the door to the classroom and entered. Class is starting. I hope you have no fear about facing the rigors of hero training. As All Might entered the room, everyone sat down in their seats. Once All Might was in the room, everyone started cheering in excitement. All Might took out a small device from his pocket and pressed a button. We will be doing a hero versus villain simulation, All Might said cheerfully. If you would all turn your attention to the back wall, you will see your hero suits in a case behind you. I would like you to meet me at the mock city that UA has. Unlike yesterday, the one didn't hesitate to grab their hero costumes. Katsuki's hero costume looked slightly different from the canon because it had a black helmet with orange along the edges of the helmet. Izuku's costume was also different than in canon. His shoes were made out of iron to better withstand the heat his quirk generated. The jumpsuit he wore was a darker green. The rebreather was built into a face mask that covered the lower portion of his face. The rest of the class had the same costumes as in canon. All Might waited until everyone was assembled before taking out 3 containers that had the labels Team Selection, Hero, Villain. All right, youngster, I need to pick from the first container labeled Team Selection, All Might announced. The piece of paper will tell you whether you're a hero or a villain. It will also tell you what your team letter is. As the class started to talk amongst themselves about the upcoming battles, All Might's smile widened. The class began to debate what objectives the villains and heroes would have. I want everyone to go plus ultra, All Might said as he raised his left arm. The villains will have to protect a nuclear bomb until time runs out or capture the heroes to win. The heroes will have to either touch the bomb or capture the villains to win. The class waited until All Might finished talking before shouting plus ultra. All Might lowered his arm once everyone was finished. Just like Aizawa, I too will be seeing how well you do in the simulation. While it is true that most hero encounters with villains are caught outside, All Might said with a serious expression on his face, a smart villain will stick to the shadows where the law can't see them. He will be fighting inside of the buildings this time around. Each villain team will get its building to protect. The heroes will get a blueprint to learn the building's layout. Once All Might finished talking, he motioned for the class to pick a piece of paper out of the team selection container. The teams were the same as in canon. Once everyone knew who their teammate was and whether they were a hero or a villain, All Might quieted everyone down by showing everyone his palm. I will now draw which hero team and villain team will be fighting in the first round, All Might said as he moved the team selection container to the side. Before the match, each team will get 5 minutes to prepare a strategy before the match begins. Each match will have a time limit of 30 minutes. Each team will have a radio frequency to communicate. Make sure not to go overboard in your fights. All Might put his left hand into the villain container and his right hand into the hero container. He grabbed a ball in his left hand and lifted his left hand out of the container. All Might then looked at the team and then showed everyone that it was Team D. All Might then grabbed a ball in his right hand and lifted it out of the container. All Might then looked at the team and then showed everyone that it was Team A. All right, Team D. The building behind me is the one you will be using as your base of operations, All Might said with a smile. Team A here is the blueprint for the building. I will inform both teams when their 5 minutes to strategize starts. All Might led everyone to the observation room. All Might passed out the blueprints to the hero teams. Once everyone was in the observation room, All Might activated his microphone. Your 5 minutes starts now, All Might said happily. Inside the building, Tenya, Ida, and Katsuki Bakugo started cleaning out the room once All Might made the announcement. Hey, Four Eyes, what kind of quirk do you have? Katsuki grumbled. I have a name, and I would like you to use it, Ida said in frustration. My quirk is called Engine. It increases my speed. What quirk do you have? I secrete nitroglycerin-like substance from my hands when I sweat, Katsuki growled at Ida. Your quirk is similar to the nerd's quirks. His quirk enhances him physically. After all, he did throw the ball pretty far yesterday, Ida said. It doesn't. His quirk ionizes the air around him so that he can move easier. The nerd just finds other ways to use his quirk, Katsuki said. Outside with the hero team, Izuku and Uraraka were busy analyzing the blueprints that they received from All Might. Uraraka, what kind of quirk do you have? Izuku asked as he was trying to think of a strategy. My quirk isn't anything special. It allows me to make anything I touch float, Uraraka said, mildly embarrassed. My quirk allows me to ionize the air around me to move faster. Kaken's quirk is explosions. He sweats nitroglycerin-like substance that he uses for his explosions, Izuku said with determination in his voice. I think we should start by separating the two of them. Ada doesn't seem like the type to leave the bomb alone. Let me lure Kaken away from the bomb. Shouldn't we stick together? That way, we could capture Bakugo together and focus on Ada, Uraraka asked curiously. We would waste too much time fighting them. Both Kaken and Ada would have any reason to stand and fight, Izuku started to mutter. Both of them are pretty strong too. If we move one of them out of position, we put the other at a disadvantage when he tries to defend the bomb. Are we entering the building together or separately? Uraraka asked happily. We will enter together and then split up. You will take the longer route, and I will take the shorter route to the stairs, Izuku said nervously. Kaken's most likely going to be on the first floor trying to intercept us and prevent us from heading to the 5th floor. 5 minutes later, both groups heard All Might came on the radio again. Your 5 minutes are up. Youngster, you are allowed to begin, All Might said cheerfully over the radio. Just remember to go plus ultra out there. With that, the hero team entered the building through the front door. Once they got to a corner around inside of the building, they heard an explosion and then saw the familiar silhouette of Katsuki. Izuku motioned for Uraraka to split fall back and find a different path while he confronted Katsuki. As Katsuki turned the corner and saw Izuku, he let out an explosion. Izuku activated his and turned the corner to force his friend to pursue him. Hey, Four Eyes, I don't see Round Face. She's probably on her way up to you as we speak, Katsuki growled into the radio. I got Deku. Make sure Round Face doesn't touch the bomb. You should fall back. Midoriya might want to lure you out of possession, Ada said cautiously over the radio. We can't afford to stay separated for too long. I'm not letting the shitty nerd escape, Katsuki growled over the radio. This is the perfect environment for him. Plenty of places to change directions, all while he maintains his current speed. Fine, but head back if you think he's luring you into a trap, Ada said with a resigned sigh over the radio. Katsuki caught up to Izuku and threw a straight right punch at Izuku. Izuku spun around on the balls of his feet while moving to the side of the blow. Izuku let a bit of the capture float in the air for Katsuki to see. Seeing this, Katsuki let out a small explosion from his right hand, sending him backward. I see, so the damn nerd intends to try and capture me by himself? Huh. Well, at least I know I have his attention now, Katsuki thought as he landed on the ground about 5 feet from Izuku. Phase 1 complete. Now that Kaken is focused solely on me, he won't have time to pursue Uraraka, Izuku thought as he saw a smile flash across his friend's face. Izuku took off at speed. He knew Katsuki could follow and started searching for a large room with a window. It didn't take long for Katsuki to close the gap and fire off an explosion to the left of Izuku's face. As Izuku dodged to the right, Katsuki caught him with a powerful uppercut to Izuku's lower jaw. As the punch made contact, Katsuki opened his right hand and set off an explosion. The explosion sent Izuku flying to the wall that was 10 feet behind him. On the 5th floor, Ida was standing guard next to the bomb. Ida was busy muttering to himself, so he didn't notice Uraraka slip into the room. It might be easy for Bakugo to slip into the role of a villain, Ida muttered loud enough for Uraraka to hear. He does act like a delinquent. However, it isn't so easy for me to behave like a villain. However, to grow as a hero, I must try and be a proper villain like Bakugo. Hearing this, Uraraka tried to hold in laughter. Uraraka found the entire thing funny because of how hard Ida was trying to be a villain. As Ida continued to get into character, Uraraka let out a small laugh. You foolish hero. Did you think that I couldn't hear you laughing, Uraraka? Ida said menacingly. You foolish heroes stand no chance of stopping us. You might as well come out from wherever it is you're hiding. Sorry, Deku. Ida found me, Uraraka said over the radio. As you can see, I have cleared the room of any debris you could touch. Your quirk means nothing if you can't touch anything, Ada said in a mocking tone of voice. In the observation room, everyone was watching as Izuku and Katsuki's fight kept getting more intense. A boy with red hair finally decided to speak up. "Excuse me, All Might, sir, isn't that fight getting out of hand?" Kirishima asked. "Young Kirishima, you have the makings of a fine hero. However, I have to give you guys some leeway during the fighting, otherwise, the simulation wouldn't teach you anything," All Might said as worry started to creep into his voice. "I'm well aware of what happens when those two don't hold back in their fight. As long as young Midoriya doesn't move at top speed and young Bakugo doesn't use a stronger explosive, it won't be a problem." "I don't know, sir. The fighting looks pretty intense. Are you sure it's okay to let it continue?" Kirishima asked. Before All Might could answer Kirishima, Izuku started moving at his full speed as Katsuki began to pull the pin on his left gauntlet. The explosion started small before getting big enough to cover the entire hallway from end to end. Once Izuku entered the room, he dove to his right to avoid the oncoming blast. Phase 2 complete, Izuku thought as the room he was in started to shake. The building started to shake as the explosion Katsuki released was strong enough to a large chunk of the exterior wall from the building. "Young Bakugo, that was extremely reckless. You know very well not to use explosions of that sizes," All Might said with frustration seeping into his voice. "Youngsters, the next person who uses excessive force will be disqualified from battle." Before we get back into the story, I would like to say that we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes over the hard facts of the anime presented. Now, in case you guys didn't know, we have a third channel called We The Celestial Naruto What If. We The Celestial Naruto What If mainly focuses on our Naruto What If series. If you are interested in content like this, please go check the description below or click the eye icon in the top right corner. Now with that out of the way, let's get back into the story. As the dust was clearing, Izuku sent his quirk into overdrive throughout his body. He then started scaling the side of the building to get to the 5th floor. Both Ida and Uraraka lost their footing due to the vibrations from the blast. Uraraka was able to recover first but was a bit unstable on her feet. Ida groaned as he started to get up as well. "Bakugo, that was a very foolish thing to do," Ida said over the radio with frustration in his voice moments after All Might's announcement. "Now isn't the time to bitch at me for being stupid. I can't believe I let the nerd goad me into that," Katsuki angrily said over the radio. "I'm heading to you since I think the nerd is on his way there. I will let you complain about this after school today. I will hold you to it, Bakugo," Ada responded as he started to track Uraraka, who was near some windows. "Watch out for the nerd's knee," Katsuki warned, sounding unusually subdued. "He probably going to be all out at this point. I am so going to pay for this later." Katsuki started sprinting to the stairs. Uraraka started slowly charging towards the bomb. However, instead of charging straight at the bomb, she moved until the windows were to her right. As Ada went to move towards Uraraka, Izuku used the outside wall of the building to kick in the window. Once Izuku was in the room, he threw straight kick with his left leg into it. The kick sent Ida flying into the wall just outside of the doorway. "Sir, how exactly are you judging us? What constitutes us going too far?" Kirishima asked as he watched in amazement at the ferocity of the fight. "This battle is very close to where I draw the line. However, I don't want to invalidate anyone's effort. Since both sides seem to have calmed down for a bit, I'm going to call off the fight if it looks like everyone is going to get seriously injured," All Might said with a resigned sigh. "It seems I wasn't clear enough at the beginning of the class. Do not go overboard in the fight. Shouldn't you stop the match before something similar to one of the large blasts happens?" Kirishima asked, concerned for the well-being of his classmates. "Let's continue watching the fight. However, if I suspect for even an instant that the battle will reach the same intensity as it did at the moment of the blast, I will declare the match a draw," All Might said in a serious tone. "Remember, this is a training match. The point of this was for me to see your level. Do not try and seriously injure your opponent. Accidents are understandable. What you're watching is not." Before Izuku could touch the bomb, Ada recovered enough to boost himself over to the bomb. Ada then kicked Izuku away using the instep of his right foot. The momentum from Ida's sprint left carried him past the bomb, giving Uraraka a chance to try and touch the bomb. Just as Uraraka was a foot away from the bomb, an explosion sent her into a window. The force of the impact left the window cracked. Katsuki entered the room out of breath. Before Katsuki could move towards the bomb, All Might called out over the radio. "Everyone, stand down," All Might said with frustration. "That was an incredible match. However, some of your classmates have expressed concerns about your safety. Since I have reason to believe the fight is getting too intense, I'm declaring it a draw." The announcement caught everyone in the room by surprise. Both Izuku and Katsuki looked at each other before going over to where their teammates were and helping them up. "What does a draw mean exactly?" Uraraka asked in shock as she accepted Izuku's offer to help her up. It means All Might isn't happy round face, Katsuki said with a resigned sigh. Just be ready to justify your actions to All Might. He's good at concealing his actual emotions. Why do you think he stopped the match, though? Ida asked out of curiosity. Simple. We started actively trying to inflict serious injuries to each author, Izuku stuttered as he looked down in shame. Think about it. You didn't try to hold back Ida. That kick hurt. Both teams left the building they were fighting in and went to the observation room. As they entered the observation room, they were met with the towering figure of the symbol of peace. Despite All Might's smile, both Katsuki and Izuku could tell that he was angry. Young Midoriya, why did you entice young Bakugo here to use one of his stronger explosions? All Might said with a hint of anger. How many times have we had this conversation? Over the past year, I believe we've had this conversation about 56 different times. My plan worked a little better than I expected, Midoriya stuttered, sounding a little defensive. My plan was to try and lure Kaken into releasing a big enough explosion that I could slip away. I just wasn't expecting the blast he used. Young Bakugo, what possible reason could you have for releasing that blast to begin with? All Might said as his smile slowly faded. Destroying your hideout, whether you are a hero or a villain, is a stupid and dangerous move. It was a miscalculation. I got so into the fight with Deku that I forgot about how powerful my explosion could get, Katsuki said as he looked at his feet. I don't like winning unless it can't be disputed. I guess I forgot that the point of the battle wasn't to defeat the damn nerd. As for the two of you, All Might said as he stared down at both Ida and Uraraka, I will give you a warning just this once. It's one thing to accidentally injure someone during training. It's another thing for you to actively try and hurt them. Both Ida and Uraraka gave a small nod before quietly moving over to the rest of their classmates. All Might looked down at Katsuki and Izuku and let out a resigned sigh. All right, you two youngsters go stand next to your classmates, All Might said with his smile returning. Now that we have learned why we should always keep in mind that we are training, I will now pick the next team. The rest of the matches went as they did in canon. Everyone was amazed at how effortlessly Shoto Todoroki was able to defeat the villain team with ease. Before the class ended, All Might told the class he had one last announcement to make. As I said at the beginning of class, I would be judging you based on how you did in the simulation, All Might said cheerfully. I will be taking 7 students under my wing for training, just like Aizawa took the 5 lowest scoring people from yesterday. Once I have made my decision, I will be calling the 7 of you to my office. Once All Might gave his announcement, he left the room before anyone could start asking questions. All Might left to go to his office and start analyzing which students showed the most promise. Every student had demonstrated incredible skill and potential. All Might knew from experience that raw power alone didn't make a great hero. All Might knew he had to select 7 out of the 14 possible candidates to train. With All Might's disappearance, the class changed out of their hero costumes and went home. Everyone was discussing who would make it into the group All Might would personally training. Most of the conversations ended up with everyone complaining about how they failed to show what they really could. Who do you think All Might will select? Ida asked as he left with Izuku, Katsuki, and Uraraka. It's hard to say All Might doesn't focus on raw power alone. Katsuki grumbled. I don't think he's going to pick Icy Hot. The guy simply froze the building. While that was a successful way to stop his opponent's Icy Hot sidelined his teammate, he also assumed that the villains didn't have a way to protect the bomb despite freezing the building. Izuku muttered. Todoroki also didn't use his fire side, which could limit him in the future. Not using half of his quirk is like denying half of himself. Is it possible to join All Might's group later even if he doesn't select you the first time around? Uraraka asked cheerfully. That is something we should ask Aizawa and All Might, Ida said calmly. I see no reason why that shouldn't be possible. Thank you all for watching the video to the end. Now there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. On behalf of We The Celestials, I'd like to thank the writer of this video and editors for this video. Their details will be in the description. If you're a voice actor, editor, or writer, or you're interested in becoming one of those, go to the Discord that is in the description of this video and hit up the head of one of those areas. We're always looking for members to join us. That's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're interested and hit that like button if you liked the video. Until next time, peace out mortals, have a fantastic day.